Good afternoon. The April 2nd, 2026 Rider Experience and Operations Committee meeting is now called to order. Good afternoon. I'm Christina Walker, Rider Experience and Operations Committee Chair, and I want to welcome everyone attending the meeting both in person and via Zoom. For board members joining via Zoom, please turn on your camera and state your name prior to making any comments or asking any questions so the public and your fellow committee members know who is speaking. And I will now ask Hunter, our board relations specialist, to call the roll.
Yes, Claudia Balducci. Stephanie Fain. Board Member Fain is present. Hunter George.
Here.
Board Member George is present. Teresa Mosqueda.
Here.
Board Member Mosqueda is present. David Partial.
Here.
Board Member Partial is present. Ed Prince.
Here.
Vice Chair Prince is present. Pete von Reichbauer. And Christina Walker.
Here.
And Madam Chair, a quorum of the committee is present at this time.
Great. Thank you, Hunter. Just a few notes before we get started. I do not want to miss the moment to remark on the wonderful occasion on Saturday as we opened the Cross Lake Connection. It was an accomplishment, years and even decades in the making, and it was also a day worthy of that memorable celebration, and I was so glad to join everyone there. Big kudos to the Sound Transit team for running the newly expanded system without incident throughout the weekend and for handling major opening day passenger loads, which I know CEO Constantine will speak to. I also don't want the moment to pass without congratulating our CEO on his anniversary of first year as a CEO. And we know, Dow, you've ticked off some big to-dos during your time here in this role so far. We've got tons of work to do, but I know every time we meet, you're ready for it. So thank you for tackling all of us, your staff in this organization, and the work we have to do. I'm going to just turn it over to you for your report.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for those kind words. Saturday was a big day, and I want to express my gratitude to everyone who made the Cross Lake opening a success. That includes members of this committee. It was a historic day, I think, for not just the agency, but for our region, and it's one we will remember for many years to come. Thousands of community members turned out. They were a reminder that our public is a public that values transit and wants more of it. And the early numbers only reinforced that. We had at our best estimate right now is 205,000 people boarding light rail on Saturday. That places Saturday as Link's second busiest day ever, trailing only the big Seahawks parade day a couple of months ago. We also operated the system, as the chair mentioned, without any major incidents, without any disruptions throughout the entire weekend. So I think this day showed that when we really rally around a vision, when we stick to it, anything is possible. And so to our board and our staff, past and present, to the boosters and supporters, and to our voters, I want to say thank you and well done. Speaking of work, we will continue to make progress this year in our overall State of Good Repair program. You will recall that when I took this job, I charged the staff with ensuring that we have safe, secure, clean, and reliable transit, and they have been making progress every single month. These improvements not only keep the system running reliably, but support a more comfortable ride for our passengers. When the World Cup kicks off in a few months, actually just 2 months now, we will be ready to move fans from around the world to their matches, to fan zones, to attractions all around our region. Over the weekend of March 21st, we replaced a 20-foot section of cracked rail at the Pioneer Square station in the downtown Seattle Transit Tunnel. Recently, our Deputy CEO for Operations, Ed Cobean, has been upgrading our ability to detect some of these challenges early so that we can take preventative steps. We also installed enhanced fencing along the Federal Way Link extension as part of our ongoing work to deter copper wire theft. This week, we also continued our work on Pinehurst Station. That will be our next grand opening. To accommodate that work, the one-line trains are sharing track between Northgate and Shoreline Shoreline South, that is, starting at 8 p.m. on weekdays. Northbound two-line trains are turning back at Northgate during this work, so passengers traveling farther north will need to transfer to a one-line train. Lastly, yesterday was an important day in our march toward that upcoming World Cup, and following the final playoff games this week, the full 48 tournament roster is now set. Our work preparing for that major event continues. We're busy providing new wayfinding and cleaning our stations and upgrading signage for those visitors from around the world. We're modifying our service plans to make sure we're ready to meet the demand. And of course, we're ensuring that all safety protocols are met. For anyone who would like to know more about the ways in which we're preparing to welcome the world, I encourage you to visit soundtransit.org/soccer tournament. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have today.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have questions for our CEO? Board Member Mosqueda.
It's maybe less of a question and more of a thank you for the CEO. CEO Constantine had the chance to join us last night in West Seattle. There was a West Seattle Light Rail Forum where we called it Moving Forward on the Momentum, and there was around 250 people in the audience. As I was telling the chair walking in here, we had a very engaged group, and when we talked about the ability to save upwards of $2.6 billion with light rail in West Seattle, if we were to eliminate the Avalon station, and showed a picture of what the train looks like with the elimination of Avalon, there was a round of applause. And the team said afterwards, I've never seen the elimination of a station meet an applause, but I think it was because Executive Constantine really emphasized the ability to maintain ridership and reduce impacts on community while delivering reliable service. So I just want to say thank you for attending that. And I think it was a well-received presentation that you and your team gave.
Thank you, board member. You organized it, and it was a really successful event. And yes, there was enormous enthusiasm in that packed room. We also had a forum. It was not organized by us, but by an outside organization. But some of our board members and staff attended a forum this week on the East Side to talk about the transit future for the East Side, and that was also good turnout. And this is all part of our ongoing outreach work to make sure we're not just informing the public, but asking for input about the directions we should be taking as we work toward creating a new system plan and a long-range financial plan. So thank you so much for the board engagement. This is what we need. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, with that, we'll move on to public comment. The Rider Experience and Operations Committee welcomes public comment as an important part of our public process. The comments are received and considered by the committee in its deliberations. Hunter, what types of comments have we received for today's meeting?
Madam Chair, we have one person signed up to comment via Zoom, but we do not have anyone signed up in the Ruth Fisher boardroom, and we don't have any written comments, just the one commenter.
Okay, great. I will skip over our written public comment section straight to our ground rules. Okay, we're going to pause public comment for some late breaking news.
Yes. Sorry, Ed Cobine, the previously mentioned Ed Cobine, we did have some news come up, and I thought you might want to share that with the board members for awareness.
Sure. Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Chair. This morning, just before 8 a.m. on the BNSF tracks, we had a very large mudslide in Mukilteo. So it's got all the main lines blocked. So our Sounder North service between Seattle and Everett will be out of service today, tomorrow. We don't run a weekend service, but we will be prepped and ready to go for start of service Monday morning.
Great, thank you. Not the news we wanted to hear, but important to get out to the public. So thank you for that. All right, we're going to get back into public comment, and we have just Zoom commenters today, and just going to go over our ground rules. Each commenter will have 2 minutes. Speakers should comment on the action they identified on the sign-up sheet and stay within the allotted time. All comments must be germane to the agenda items or items within the committee's purview. Speakers should not make introductory statements, derogatory remarks, profanity, or personal attacks not germane to an agenda item. statements related to a political campaign, or statements for or against a candidate or ballot measure. Speakers should not engage in conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of this meeting, including conduct that is not germane to the committee's work or agenda. This is the only warning speakers will receive. If these rules are not followed, I will ask for the microphone to be turned off. And I appreciate your adherence to these rules. We will go straight to virtual comment, and I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to Hunter to call the names. And when your name is called, please raise your hand using the raise hand function in Zoom, or if you're joining via telephone, the raise hand function is accessed by entering *9.
Our one public commenter on Zoom today is Joe Kunzel. Please get the notice to unmute your microphone. Go ahead.
Thank you, Alejandro. Joe Kunzler here. As promised this morning at the executive committee, I wanted to call in and discuss the Fairgate situation. As some of you may be aware, conservative/right-wing media is circulating getting the sharks to circle around our wonderful transit agency. We desperately need Fairgate sooner rather than later, as BART has, as well as keep the cameras on at Sound Transit. And here's why. Recently, we had a tragic incident of a mentally unstable person who probably did not pay fare, try to shove a fare-paying person into the path of the Link Light Rail. Luckily, cameras captured the incident, and the troubled individual would be facing justice. But the incident could have been prevented with fare gates. We also need to consider putting up safety fences between the platforms and light rail. As some of you know, I'm not just on the autism spectrum, but that's not an excuse for any misbehavior, past or present or future. It's an explanation. But I also have a bad left eye. So it's hard for me to look around and find, it used to be hard for me to look around and find where tap on and tap off. Now with the improvements of tactile, and it's very easy to find where tap on and off. At $6 for a day of riding sexy light rail is a great deal. With 30 seconds left, I really hope you expedite getting fare gates on the system everywhere. And make sure that everyone pays their fair share in the system, because public confidence is being shaken in the system this spring, and we need to address that right away. Especially as somebody who cannot safely drive a car at this time. With that, with 5 seconds left to go, sure wish I could buy a paper trade from you. As always, go Sound Transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any other commenters? All right, thanks, Hunter. We'll go ahead and close public comment and move on to our business items. There are 2 business items on today's agenda for committee final action. We'll start with the minutes of the March 5th, 2026 Rio Committee meeting. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
It's been moved, and can I get a second? It's been moved and seconded. The motion has been moved by Mosqueda and seconded by Fain here in the room. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, the motion carries, and we're moving on to motion number M 2026-13. Randy Levine, our Chief Information Officer, and Huey Newsome, our Chief Financial Officer, are here to provide a presentation on a contract modification for temporary IT workers.
Good afternoon, Chair Walker and members of the committee. I'm here to discuss motion 2026-13 to execute a contract modification in order to add additional funds to our current IT temporary staffing services. This would be an increase for the contract capacity from not to exceed 10 million to 20 million. So this action today would increase capacity by $10 million. This increase was calculated not only looking at prior year's burn rate, we looked at our future anticipated needs. And this is to execute the second of 3 option years. Okay, next slide, please. There are 4 individual contracts for IT temporary staffing services. These are the selected firms: Abacus Services, Infogenie, Trifacta, and 22nd Century Technologies. Each contract had an initial 2-year term. First was September 1st, 2023 to August 31st, 2025, with 3 one-year options through August 31st, 2028. The aggregate total was $10 million, including option years, $20 million upon approval of today's actions. This action anticipates using funding already budgeted or reasonably assumed future budget. Next slide, please. To give some context about how we were using this, IT temporary contractors, we have had the following 91 task orders issued since 2023. 35 were in the IT help desk, help support area. 17 were IT project manager assignments. 11 were IT business analyst assignments. 10 are network and server engineering assignments. And then we had some miscellaneous in our InfoSec area, data, QA, services, app development, and support. Next slide, please. IT temporary services is an ongoing need. We do need them for quick turnaround on short-term task orders, usually capped at 12 months. It can help with backfilling vacancies as it takes us a little longer to hire staff in return to deal with IT staff turnover, short-term project tasks. And this increase is being driven by the following: accelerated pace of growth of the agency and the entire system, leading to the increase in demand of IT services, as well as constraints increasing TLE headcount in the IT department. And thank you. That would be the next slide.
Thank you. All right. Just a quick question. Overall, it sounds like this is a combination of internal and external IT services. So this is keeping our ST staff running, computers working, those sort of basics, but also I'm seeing in there some externally facing IT support as well with app development and things like that. Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay, so we get a little bit of everything in here. Okay,
Correct.
great. What questions does the committee have for our staff?
Sure.
All right. Oh, Board Member Balducci, did you have?
Yeah, if you don't mind, it's
Go ahead.
it's a bigger question than this and than this contract, and I would like to maybe invite somebody to follow up after. But I would love to understand better what how we assess that we have the level of modern functioning sort of IT systems and staffing to make sure that we're meeting the needs of this, burgeoning agency.
Yes, it's not something I could do in the next 2 minutes here and
I
do
would
justice to the subject. So I don't know what the protocol is for following up. So whatever it is, I will follow up.
Thank you.
Yes, and Board Member Balducci, this is Callie Knight, and we will absolutely ensure that the proper follow-up happens with your office. Thanks for the question.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Any other questions? Board Member Fain.
Thank you. Thanks for being here and your update. How much of the work is for ongoing operational need versus short-term surge capacity? You referenced, quick turnaround for short-term needs and short-term project tasks. Is it largely all short-term work? And then if that's the case, at what point do we kind of pivot and look at more sustainable staffing?
So as I have been in my role a few weeks from today will be a year. I have been ascertaining what our skill sets are and also the demand of the workplace. I'd say right now we're using them for short-term assignments. However, there is some that is used for some operational need as well, and we have put in some additional headcount for this year to be able to deal with some of that. But we're really trying to take a look at this more strategically and figure out what are the right roles that we should have within the IT department and what we should be contracting out. So we are taking the longer expansive view of this as well. We're just not ready to, we're just in the beginning stages of that.
One more follow-up, sorry. There's a reference to the 93 task orders. Is there a way to kind of categorize how much per task order in terms of staffing, or is it, is there a way to kind of show where the dollars are going and why, or in terms of staffing and, sorry, I got my phone.
I mean, yes, we can equate costs to these. Like, for example, the 35 IT help desk support assignments, those would not be on projects. Those would just be either staff augmentation or, to deal with attrition. But we also look at metrics too. So for example, the help desk and support includes the service desk, desktop support, and the IT operations center. And if you look at the IT service desk use case, the industry standard is 1 tech per 100, 100 end users, and we're at 1 tech per 250. So we are a lean, mean operating machine. So we're trying to be very, very mindful of industry benchmarks as well as the amount of work that we have coming in.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for the presentation. Hunter, would you please read the action into the record?
Yes. Motion number M 2026-13 is a motion of the Rider Experience and Operations Committee of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to increase the aggregate total amount authorized for the individual IT temporary contractor services contracts with Abacus Services Corporation, Infogenie Inc., Trifacta Inc., and 22nd Century Technologies Inc. in the amount of $10 million for a new total authorized aggregate amount not to exceed $20 million plus applicable taxes.
Great, thank you. And now I will entertain a motion to approve M 2026-13.
So moved.
Been moved. Do we have a second?
Second, Prince.
Been moved and seconded. Any final questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, the motion carries. We are going to move on to reports to the committee, and we have a big one today. This is our communication-based train control briefing, the CBTC, which I personally just started to learn about at our board retreat, and I'm very appreciative to have Shankar Rajaram, our Infrastructure and Asset Management Executive Director here, who's going to give us an overview of what that means and what it can do for us. So take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, RIO Committee Chair Walker and board members. I'm Shankar Rajaram, Executive Director of Infrastructure and Asset Management. This presentation is a follow-up to requests from board members at the Transit Operations Opportunity Table during the board retreat on March 18th. Next slide, please. I'm here today to provide a brief overview of communication-based train control, otherwise called CBTC technology, and its relevance to Link Light Rail. Our focus is on how CBTC improves capacity, reliability, and long-term resiliency. And this discussion is also intended to support future board decisions regarding timing and implementation approach for CBTC. Next slide, please. CBTC is a modern digital train control system that uses continuous communication between trains and infrastructure. Train control system is another name for train signaling system. People use this term interchangeably, train control versus train signaling. Today, Link's train control system uses automatic train protection technology, which is otherwise referred to as ATP. Both ATP and CBTC technologies are safe and enforce train separation. The key difference, however, is that CBTC continuously manages train spacing in real time, allowing trains to operate closer together and more smoothly. On contrary, the ATP manages predefined train spacing using fixed blocks on the track that requires the trains to maintain larger stepwise separation. Next slide, please. As to why CBTC, we are expecting that our existing ATP system will likely face obsolescence challenges in the next 15 to 20 years. So we need to think about it proactively. The more modern and advanced CBTC system will be an upgrade and will allow Link Light Rail to carry more riders on the same infrastructure while improving service reliability. CBTC will also prepare the system for future growth, including higher frequency service. We are expecting that once installed, CBTC will allow us to run 25 to 30 trains per hour compared to 15 trains we run per hour today through the DSTT. CBTC will also unlock the benefits such as potential automation of train movements within the future OM of South and OM of North and enable efficiency in facility design and operations. It would also enable more efficient application of condition-based maintenance regime, which will unlock cost savings, which is the talk of the moment. Next slide. Oh, keep same. And to the question of why now, transitioning to a new train control system is a long process that can take 10 to 20 years. ST3 projects and the upcoming Series 3 LRV procurement represent a major opportunity to introduce CBTC more efficiently and make the Link Light Rail future ready for the 2040s. Starting it now allows us to avoid costly retrofits later and align with system expansion. Next slide, please. Just to illustrate a couple of points, I would start with this slide where the comparison between ATP and CBTC when it comes to train acceleration. Under the current ATP system, trains accelerate in steps because each fixed block must clear before the train can proceed. This results in a slower and a less efficient acceleration to the top speed. With CBTC, train accelerates smoothly and continuously, similar to a bus moving in open traffic, which improves travel time and energy efficiency. This also allows improved headways. Like I mentioned before, CBTC will allow 25-30 trains per hour through DSTT, which translates to roughly about a train every 2 to 2.5 minutes. Today, we have a train every 4 minutes. With further improvements, perhaps ATP can be refined further to allow up to 20 trains per hour, but at that point, it would reach the practical limits of the technology compared to CBTC, which will allow 25 to 30 trains. Next slide, please. This is a cartoon that shows depicts the disruption recovery scenario. CBTC will allow improves the system and how it responds to disruptions. Because trains can safely operate closer together and are managed in real time, the system can recover more quickly from delays. In the example shown in the cartoon here, the trains can get as close as 150 feet from each other and still be safe in the main line. What this does is it reduces the likelihood of delays cascading across the entire network when we are trying to recover from service disruptions. Next slide, please. Staff have identified 3 implementation approaches, which was discussed during the board retreat in March. The first is a no change approach, which defers CBTC, but it would increase the long-term risk for the signaling system. The second is an opportunistic approach aligned to ST3 delivery, which would start with implementing CBTC with the ST3 projects and will delay the start of implementing CBTC in the existing system. This would be a more organic kind of an approach where you would decouple the technical risks by implementing it in the newly built infrastructure and understanding any issues before you migrate it to the existing system. The third is an aggressive approach that will accelerate the system-wide implementation, but it will require additional resources. Each option will involve trade-offs between timing, cost, and risk. Next slide, please. This current status, to date, we have completed feasibility studies and initial industry engagement. The Series 3 vehicle procurement includes the option for CBTC capabilities. In addition, federal funding of $4 million has been secured by Washington's congressional delegation to initiate the work on CBTC. In terms of the next steps will depend on board direction. At the end of the enterprise initiative conversation, we would move into a formal planning phase if we get the green light to move forward with CBTC, and we would need this to develop technical requirements, procure program support, and begin the process of selecting a CBTC vendor. This work would be aligned with the ST3 project delivery schedule and also the Series 3 LRV schedule. In closing, what I would like to comment is the CBTC is a foundational investment that would improve the reliability and capacity of Link Light Rail system. Starting early reduces the long-term cost and disruption and positions Sound Transit to deliver a resilient and future-ready system. With that, thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. What questions do we have for Shankar? Board Member Fain?
Okay. Thank you very much. I have a couple questions. I'll try to narrow them down. One is, are there transit systems out there currently using this? And I heard a lot of positives. What are the risks or downsides to this?
Yes, there's a lot of agencies that use this. CBTC was originally mostly used in the metro systems. Here in New York started it, and they are continuing to do that. New York Metro, SF Muni has it. BART is in the process of migrating to that. WMATA, as of last month, they had an industry day just to talk about this. They are also exploring like us. Outside the US, there's a lot of places they have it. But the one place I would like to point out is SkyTrain in Vancouver. They've been having it since 1987, and it's been working great for them. In terms of the downside is the cost involved in it to migrate an existing system. And that is why we are in a unique place, because 50% of the Link Light Rail is yet to be built. So if we start now, we don't have to go through a painful process of doing that on the ST3 projects. And we can use that as a launching pad and understand the technology really well, and then migrate those things to the brownfield. The real risk is that managing that migration of the existing system while still also delivering service. So that needs a lot of coordination and thinking and planning. But like I mentioned in the very first slide, 15 to 20 years from now, we are going to have challenges in keeping up the current system. And if we are thinking about changing it in 15 to 20 years, the time to act is now, because it takes that long to make that migration in an operating system.
Okay. Board Member Balducci, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I find this very, very intriguing, and really interested in what are the outcomes that we get from the various levels of investment. So if we were to want to invest more aggressively now, obviously we're in a situation where we don't have enough resources to do all the things we planned, and aggressive investment, as you just presented, would be something else we haven't planned to invest in now. So am I hearing correctly that with this kind of technology, we could have trains that moved faster and with shorter, safe headways? In other words, we could increase the number of trains and how quickly they were moving?
Yes, the speed of the trains will still remain the same, but because the rate of accelerating to the top speed is more efficient, so you can run more trains safely. Also, because the trains talk to each other and are self-aware of where the next train is, you can run them quite tighter. whereas in the current system, we don't. So yes, we can run twice as many trains as we run today.
So we would be increasing our capacity without building new capacity, without building new,
Yes.
new tracks, new stations. Did you say that with this technology, we could send 30 trains per hour through, is that the new tunnel or the old tunnel? The current tunnel, I should say.
So we are estimating 25 to 30 trains through the current DSTT. So if you look at CBTC, if you look at the marketing pamphlets, they typically say 90 seconds, but the 90 seconds is what the signal does. But the physical infrastructure, like what track speeds you can go through certain areas, the physical constraints and all put together, we are estimating 2 to 2.5 minutes headways is what it can support.
And how many trains are we able to put through the tunnel per hour now with the current system?
So today we have 15 trains. We are estimating we could go up to 20 trains per hour. So from 4-minute headways, that's 3-minute headways. I think at that point, we would be really starting to huff and puff because it will get pushing the limit of the technology.
Of the current system, right?
Yeah.
And just for context, what is the plan for full ST2 service and what is the plan for full ST3 service in terms of trains per hour through the tunnels, plural?
I may not know it accurately, but I will try to answer that question. I believe that in the 2037 38 timeframe, 3-minute headways is what is being envisioned, and the current system should be able to support it at that point.
I would love to have the comparison. Number of trains, and that might mean number of train cars. Maybe you can't do trains not knowing how long the train cars are, but how many cars per train. Like I can't do the math from headways to number of trains per hour, and I would like to be able to have the apples to apples comparison of
so 20 trains per hour.
Yeah.
20 trains per hour is what I think is expected. Today
Current
it's 15
system?
trains. Current system, today it's 15 trains. It's envisioned to be 20 trains per hour in 2037 timeframe. But we are saying with the CBTC, it's not just about the normal service, but also the recovery after a disruption can happen faster, plus future-proofing in the distant future, in the 2040s, if you have to run more trains, more than 20 trains per hour, the CBTC can come into play.
Let me be super clear about the question. What I'm asking for is the table. Current system, how many trains can we run? Not how many do we run, but how many can we run with the current system per hour in the DSTT? Presumably, we're not going to build a new tunnel without the new technology, so we can leave that aside for a moment. And then in the future, how many trains per hour are we planning to run through a tunnel or tunnels with, I want to, see what I'm saying?
Noted. We will get back to follow up with response.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, board member, that is a really good question to which there is clearly an answer. And we'll be able to provide that in the form you asked, and I think relatively short order.
Whatever form you like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Board Member Mosqueda, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that there's a number of benefits that you've articulated here. I just am curious about the impacts on labor. Is there any direct impact on labor with this new technology? Assuming so, have the represented labor unions been involved or engaged in these discussions? And which ones are we talking about? Which locals are we talking about?
At this point in time, although this technology has multiple, different levels of upgrades you could do, the way we are looking at it is that the trains, while it helps with improving the reliability and all that, it's still You want to take the question, Callie?
Yeah, Shankar, thanks for your question, board member. I believe that what Shankar and his team are looking at are more about upgrades to our signal system rather than automation that would impact organized jobs, represented jobs that we have on our system right now with our operating partners. Shankar, would you say that that's correct?
Yes, that's correct.
But that doesn't preclude us always, board member, from engagement with our labor liaison, just to understand any concerns from partners.
And if I may add on to that, coming from a system that had CBTC, previously working at an agency that had CBTC, we saw it all the way to 90 seconds for headway at one time. But to answer your question about the labor, has zero impact on removal of any positions. In fact, it actually increases positions because we're running more service. We need more operators.
Any other questions or comments? One quick question from me. On your last slide, last slide, you note that we have 4 million from our Washington congressional delegation. I'm assuming because that was designated for this, we don't need to do anything. This can help the team just get started. Is that true?
Yes.
Great. So that's a great start. And then, but it sounds like there are pieces that the board would need to take up to continue that. And I guess my question is, can you do something with 4 million now to get started, or are you waiting for us to take these other steps to move it forward in a full package?
We can get started now. And at some point after the enterprise initiative thing goes to the board, we would like to come to the board.
Okay, great. Well, thank you to our congressional delegation for helping us get started. I know this is, we have to spend money up front to save money, and it sounds like a great way to go. So thank you for bringing that forward, helping us understand it a little bit more, helping the public understand it, because I know our conversations at the board retreat were in the small group. So really appreciate that. All right, we're going to move on. We do have an executive session. I have a couple notes, one that I thought of and one that I missed at the opening of the meeting, but just wanted to remind committee members, because we didn't get our regular monthly performance report. You do have the packet in your agenda, so take a look at that. So you have all those ridership numbers in your at your fingertips. We also did not get a report today about work done on the system, and I wanted to note one being done in Tacoma. Our T-line is suspended next week, April 6th through 9th, to replace a broken rail. And I guess I would ask staff if there are any other closures that we should just flag now for the public. Okay, great. Well, we don't like to be suspended, but we're very excited to get our broken rail fixed in Tacoma. And then lastly, my board colleague and Dow mentioned outreach around the enterprise initiative. I just wanted to flag one of our partners, Transportation Choices Coalition, is hosting panels in every sub area. So as noted, East King was earlier this week. Snohomish County is April 14th. Pierce County is April 27th. And Seattle is May 5th. There will also be a South King panel discussion. And again, this is an opportunity for the public to come discuss with board members what they're seeing, what they're hoping for in the enterprise project, so enterprise initiative. So encourage folks to come out, and we will be sharing those as they happen. All right, with that, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for that update. I will put May 5th on my calendar. I don't think I had that one on there. And appreciate all the outreach again. I did have a request for the Sound Transit staff. Just on the topic of the enterprise initiative, I would love for the materials that the Sound Transit team presented last night in West Seattle to be shared with the committee, if that's helpful and appropriate. There was some updated slides that they produced at our request so that there was more visuals, and I think it was really well received. So again, thanks to the team for their work on that. But if that's okay, Chair, I would love to have that shared.
Great, thank you. Board Member Fain.
And then we don't have a South King sub-area meeting yet, but we are working on it. So we'll share that date shortly.
All right, we are now going into executive session. Our general counsel is here to tell us the specific RCW that authorizes this executive session. Desmond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The executive session is authorized by RCW 4230-110-1B to consider the selection of a site for lease or purchase where public discussion would likely result in an increased price.
Great, thank you. This executive session is expected to last 20 minutes. The executive session will be held in another virtual meeting. Board members have received a link to that meeting in a separate email. Board members will exit this meeting to participate in the executive session, and I believe those of us in the room are going across the hall. Okay. And then we'll return back to this Zoom in this room when it's over. We won't be taking any action after that, but we will come back to close out the meeting. So with that, we are in executive session.
The Rider Experience and Operations Committee has extended its executive session by 5 minutes. The committee will now reconvene at 2:12 p.m. Once again, the Rider Experience and Operations Committee has extended its executive session by 5 minutes and will now reconvene at 2:12 p.m. Thank you. Rider Experience and Operations Committee has extended its executive session by an additional 2 minutes and will now reconvene at 2:14 p.m. Once again, the Rider Experience and Operations Committee has extended their executive session by a further 2 minutes and will now reconvene at 2:14 p.m. Thank you.
You ready? I'd like to call the meeting back to order, and I'm just checking, is there any other business to come before the committee today? Seeing none, our next Rider Experience and Operations Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 7th at 1 p.m. The meeting will take place here in the Ruth Fisher Boardroom and virtually via Zoom. The link to join the meeting virtually will be provided on the Sound Transit website as well as the meeting agenda. With that, we are adjourned.